My name is Adrian. For most of my life with Mara, I held on to the belief that enough patience could smooth out any rough edge. Mara was fiery, unpredictable, and somehow magnetic because of it. I convinced myself that her sharp comments were just habits she might eventually outgrow. But with time, that spark dulled into something cutting. Something that wore me down more than I ever wanted to admit. It began on a quiet Tuesday evening. I had left work earlier than usual, hoping to surprise her. Maybe we could cook dinner together, talk, share a simple moment. But when I walked through the door, she didn't even lift her eyes from the glowing screen in her hands. Her fingers kept moving as if I weren't even in the room. "Hey," I said gently, placing my bag on the counter. "Thought we could spend the evening together." She sighed without looking up. "Adrian, please. Not right now. I'm tired." I paused. "I'm not asking for much." That was when she snapped her head up, her gaze icy. "You don't get to ask anything of me," she said calmly, almost too calmly. "I don't owe you explanations. You're not in charge of me." Her tone hit harder than if she had shouted. It felt practiced, like she had held these words ready for a long time. I stood still, unsure whether to feel hurt or simply stunned. I wasn't trying to control her. I just wanted to feel like I mattered. "You're being clingy," she added, rolling her eyes. "It's suffocating." We lived together but went days barely acknowledging one another. Yet somehow, wanting a conversation made me clingy. I tried again carefully. "Have I done something wrong? It just feels like." "Stop making me responsible for how you feel," she cut in, her voice sharp. "Your emotions are your problem." Something shifted inside me then, quietly but unmistakably. I had spent years excusing her distance, telling myself she was stressed or tired. But hearing her dismiss me so completely made something in me finally wake up. I saw, for the first time without denial, how little space I held in her world. The moment that sealed everything was when I overheard her talking on the phone, as if I were a weight tied to her ankle, something she tolerated out of obligation. That was when I accepted the truth. There was no getting back to how things were, because the foundation I had been clinging to had been hurting me all along. The next morning I got up early, desperate for clarity. With a mug of hot coffee in my hands, I let myself think honestly for the first time in years. I had reshaped my entire life around Mara. My weekends, my evenings, even the smallest habits. I told myself it was love, compromise, patience. But compromise becomes dangerous when the other person sees it as something they're entitled to. When respect erodes quietly until you don't recognize yourself anymore. I remembered our early apartment, tiny but full of laughter. The way she used to smile at me, how she held my hand like it meant something. I had always celebrated her victories and carried her worries with her. But that warmth had vanished, or maybe it had never been as real as I believed. That morning I made a decision, not in anger, not out of spite, but out of a need to protect myself. I couldn't continue fading in my own home, giving everything to someone who kept offering nothing in return. I called my friend Simon, the one person who had always seen what I refused to. "I think I'm done," I whispered. He didn't rush to respond. He let the silence sit between us. And in that silence I felt something powerful, acceptance, maybe even freedom. By the end of the day I had packed a single bag. Clothes, my laptop, a few books, and small things that still felt like mine. I didn't announce my leaving or seek a dramatic ending. I walked out quietly, steadily, and felt a weight lift off my shoulders. When I reached Simon's place, he opened the door with a knowing look. "About time," he said. I repeated the word finally to myself, not as a victory, but as a release. I wasn't relieved because I had left someone I once cared for. I was relieved because I had stopped sacrificing myself for someone who never chose me back. In the days that followed, the messages rolled in not from Mara, but from the people around her. Friends, relatives, even people I barely knew. They questioned my choice, scolded me, tried to shame me into returning. But their opinions felt distant. I had learned that the only approval that mattered was my own. A few weeks later Mara finally texted, short, distant. "We need to talk. Can you come home?" I stared at my phone, remembering how many times I had twisted myself into knots for her, trying to earn a moment of tenderness. I remembered how long it had been since I felt truly understood, before resentment flooded every part of our life together. I typed back, "I'm not ready. We'll talk when I am." That evening I sat on Simon's balcony, watching the city lights shimmer beneath the fading sky. I thought about the person I used to be before the marriage, the dreams I shelved, the small pleasures I ignored. Happiness, I understood then, wasn't clinging to someone who let go of you. It was finding yourself again when everything feels broken. Slowly, over the next month, I rebuilt my life. Morning jogs, reading books I'd missed, cooking meals that actually made me smile. Each simple act felt like reclaiming a part of myself I had given away. Then came the call from Mara's lawyer, detached, professional, emotionless. Discussions of money, property, arrangements. I listened calmly without dread. By then, I had accepted that our marriage had already ended long before the paperwork began, when she stopped treating me as her equal. In time, I met someone new. Not as a distraction, not to mend a wound, but because my heart finally had room again. Lena, with her soft laugh and steady presence, showed me that real love is built on mutual respect, not control. Sitting across from her, sipping our coffee, I thought briefly of Mara. Not with bitterness, not with sadness, but with a clear understanding. I had loved her earnestly, tried endlessly, waited patiently. But when love fades on one side, all that's left is a hollow echo. Sometimes the only way to survive is to leave. I sent Mara one last message. I hope you find what you're searching for. I've found myself. She never replied. And for the first time, that silence felt right. I wasn't walking away from her anymore. I was finally walking toward myself.